Welcome to Dear Alice, a lifestyle approach to interior design.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dear Alice. We have the great Suzanne Hall with us today.
Holla Hall. Hi.
Is that your
my
Instagram handle?
Mm-hmm.
Holla
Yeah.
Hall.
I thought it was so clever. Like when I got married circa 2006 and everyone was having a blog. So I think I did one post and it was hollahall.blogspot.com.
Nice.
I never posted anything to it. So
Can
don't
you
go
change your Instagram handle? Like if you're like sick of it,
you can change it.
Yeah, you
Probably
can?
could.
Okay.
Do you not like my Instagram?
No. I was just curious. I was because
why has she not changed that?
you were just said you did it in 2006. I was like, hey, maybe you just like can't change it. I got
2022. Maybe you're interested.
yeah.
It's like getting a new car.
I got Corey Place with like no dot period or underscore anything. So you better believe I'm not letting go of that one.
No way, Jose.
Nice.
Okay. Awesome. Yes.
We have
Good
the
to be
great-
back.
Yes, it's so good to have you back. Thanks,
Yes,
Sue,
I know,
for
I missed
joining
your
us.
faces.
We
I missed Jess's
Same.
hat.
you. Thanks, Suzaru.
And Corey has cool, like platinum silvery hair because he's a rock star.
I do need to. Yeah, I need to get it redone. But
Corey's
that's on the
wife is
list.
also a hairdresser, and so
Smoking hot hairdresser.
Corey has the raddest hair at all times.
Yes, thank you.
Because he's sleeping with his hairdresser.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know.
Those are the benefits.
Yep, and
We
two
got-
two cute kids, a little boy and a little girl.
Yep. They have rad hair as well.
They do have
They
red
do have
hair.
red hair.
Yep.
Yep. So you heard Corey Place say your voice.
Corey Place. Hold.
Yeah.
Is that what you wanted me to do?
Yeah, I just want to make sure they know your voice when
Yes.
you're talking.
This is me.
Corey
Place.
is the male component to our podcast, so you can make sure and represent both sides of the spectrum.
Yep.
And I would say I'm like the maybe less like versed in interior design. So sometimes I say like my opinion that's maybe coming from something like it's literally just coming from me.
Yeah.
And asking questions possibly that listeners might be thinking because I'm thinking the same thing because I'm
Yeah.
less versed in it.
Human
Totally.
component.
Yeah.
But Corey also knows like how it's made, like how it's built. You know that show, How It's Made?
Yeah.
That's what Corey knows.
For sure.
He knows how the house is built because he used to work in a door shop and he's helping with our new building. He
Yeah.
just knows how everything
Finish
comes
worker,
together.
all the things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's really helpful to have Corey on here too, to explain all the things.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Jessie Bennett owns Alice Lane, just so you know.
That's me.
Yeah,
I'm the
she
one
owns the
that
place.
some people say I sound like Lorelai Gilmore on here.
a compliment.
Others say I sound like my cords are fried. So I'm the one with the fried cord voice.
And I say like a lot.
That's how
I'm
you-
Suzanne.
That's how you can tell if you're
I'm a
talking
West
to
Coast
Sue.
girl.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love
That's
it.
amazing.
Okay, today we're going to be talking about exteriors, updating the outside of your home. This is a hot topic for me because I keep driving into my neighborhood and seeing one house after the next turning completely white.
What was it before, Jess?
Tuscan. It was a lot of brown houses,
Okay.
which by that I mean, so Utah's version of Tuscan, because as you know, Utah isn't in Tuscany. So this is how, Utah.
Nor does Utah's version of Tuscany look anything like Tuscany.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like all of the early 2000s were kind of mashed up in this bucket. And I don't know if it was, if everybody was intending for it to be Tuscan in my neighborhood. They might not have been. There are some craftsman homes. And there are just brown and tan and beige. Those were the colors that were trending at the time. Lots of big brown beams. And they were just, hardy and kind of looked indigenous to the area maybe. Yeah. So anyway, we're working with a very brown palette. And as you know, or maybe you don't, you probably do. I don't know where everybody lives here. Maybe you live in the city. And so you don't see that everybody right now is building a white farmhouse, or at least in the state of Utah.
None of them are farms.
They're not on farms, but they're building what they describe as a white farmhouse as taught to them by HGTV.
Thanks a lot.
So it's usually a white house with a really large pitch, two large
Some steep
pitches
gables.
on the front. Yeah.
Hardy board. It's
Complete hardy board.
vertical rails on the hardy board.
Yes.
Black windows.
Black windows.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not steel.
Yep.
Also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tar roof, probably, just like your basic tar roof.
So a lot of contrast from taking it from the mud and they're trying to brighten it up because
Totally.
everybody was just feeling kind of drowned out by brown.
Yes, pretty simple. And I think the interiors are also white paint, probably white paint walls. So,
And probably more stark white
yes,
than we.
not warm white.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're seeing a lot of like people moving to, like my whole neighborhood is turned over with there's been this big influx with homes for sale in Utah because people are getting more now than they were even before 2020. And a lot of people are moving in. So house values have just really, really raised. So a lot of people turn their homes over and were like, you know what, I'm an empty nester now with my husband. I don't need this much house. So they moved out, they collected the money, they're winning the game of Monopoly, and they take off, leave the neighborhood. And somebody new comes in and they're like, I want to update this brown house, which I totally get it. I do the same thing. So what we're seeing is that a lot of people are updating and changing these houses. For the most part, people are entirely spraying their whole house white. The rock, the stucco, the brick, the beams, they're painting black and putting black garage doors on or something like that. So we're seeing a lot of contrast. And so we have a ton of listener questions, like what to do, how to update a house, because I think the market right now feels really unstable where we are, where there's this huge swing in house prices. There's a lack of inventory on the marketplace for people wanting to buy homes so they can get this demand. And so if you do buy a house because you're like, I just got to buy any house because this one's available in this right size and I can fix everything I don't like. These are all the questions we're getting. So we're going to answer these today. We asked these questions on our Instagram handle, and then these were all of the questions that came in. So if you guys, by the way, want to ever ask a question, you can send it to Dear Alice at alicelanehome.com. Again, that's Dear Alice at alicelanehome.com, or you can DM this. You can DM the Instagram account or
just either Instagram account. So at Alice Lane Home or what's ALID's?
Alice Lane Interiors.
Alice Lane Interiors. At Alice Lane Interiors.
And you can follow us at Alice Lane Home on Instagram. And we oftentimes ask people if they have a podcast question on this topic, and then you can always put it in there. So if you're not following us, give us a follow at Alice Lane Home. Or if you want to just follow the interior side to see how homes are built and you're more interested in that than what we're doing at store, you can always follow us at Alice Lane Interiors on Instagram. So getting started, let's talk about it.
Okay.
You're buying a home and you want to make improvements to the exterior. So first question is, people always want it to be timeless. So they want to know, is black too trendy when it comes to windows?
For sure.
Yeah.
100%. Unless you're moving into an industrial like movement in this like cool factory and it has still windows that, came with, gift with purchase. Then I think for sure I think they're trendy and they're cool. They're cool in certain applications when it is like a still window or when it's a really thin grid. But I think often like they're just like a little bit too chunky. And so it just becomes a little bit abrasive for my eyeballs. So
I think it's in right now. I do think it's a timestamp, much like almond windows were. Back when my whole neighborhood was being built in the early 2000s, right? So probably the safest thing you could do would be just to do a white window, right? Because that's going to be the everlasting thing. So did you have a thought on that, Corey?
I agree. I was just going to ask but I agree. You answered my question.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think if you are planning on upgrading your windows, if you're in an existing home and say you moved into it and it has vinyl windows or it has like kind of the sticker grids on it, I think that's a beautiful way to update your house and add value and make it feel classic is to replace the windows and to do kind of a metal wood combinations. And then you have the flexibility. If you want black windows, get it really thin, do it now, but you can change it later.
Yeah.
At least on the inside, right? So I think windows is a beautiful way to update your home and make it feel more expensive, by adding that and getting rid of the vinyl windows.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, next question that they had was when they're choosing paint colors and undertones for shutters on a brick house.
Okay, we were just kind of talking about this. Jess was talking about a home in her neighborhood that they painted the whole house. They painted the shutters. And I think the shutters used to be a wood, right, Jess?
Yeah, it was like a faux wood or something like that. Again, like they have these wood beams going up and over the door at 2 stories high. And then they have these wood shutters.
Just too tall.
Yeah. Go ahead, say it. You can say it out loud.
I don't know. I always, when I see like these teeny little entry footprints and then there's these huge 2-story beams supporting this like roof pitch up top, I'm like, why? Why is it so tall? Like the footprint's nothing. And they have this massive like statement. And I'm like, you're not like the Parthenon. Like you don't need columns that large supporting your entry. Like humble it down. Anyway, I just think they're too tall.
I agree.
Most often. So
yeah. So anyway, this neighbor, they just updated their shutters. Actually didn't paint anything other than the shutters so far. Mm-hmm. And they just used like a lighter kind of taupey, cooler taupey color. And it looked really pretty with the stone still, but it just took away some of the brownness. And somehow, like if there's brown shutters with stone with a lot of brown in it, brown beams, your eye goes to all the brown, right? So by updating the shutter color, you now notice the lighter bits in the stone. Yeah. You still have the brown beams, the brown columns, which they are wood. They're like that slivery, wood. Mm. So it's not like it's going to pretend to be something else. Potentially you could paint that, but that's kind of a hard one to overcome, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, the texture will stay what it is. But I think the moral of the story when you're updating that is to maybe not make it so contrasting. Your eye automatically gets drawn to that. It's like the accent wall. Yeah. You see that contrast when those two materials meet. Same thing with the outside of your house. Mm-hmm. I think a long-lasting house has fewer materials, but they're authentic. Totally. And they tell very authentic stories. So when somebody has an elevation, there's stone and siding and stucco and shingles, and there's just one too many materials, and it's trying too hard. Yeah. I'm like, come on, be cool. Keep it easy. So I think with the shutter thing, like you said, I think they celebrated their assets, right? Mm-hmm. They celebrated the good tones in the rock that they wanted to pull out instead of the deep brown ones. And now it's just a little bit more quiet so that you can actually just appreciate the massing. So.
Yeah, I agree. So this is a question from a listener. They want to know how to make minor updates without demo. They want to know if they can clad 90s stucco home with shingles or batten. Is that a good or bad idea? What do you think, Corey? Do you think you can put shingles or batten over stucco, or do you think you need to?
I think I would demo the stucco. Yeah. It sounds daunting and stuff, but I think that's going to be the best for your home. When you start layering exterior finishes, that just gives you more better access for water to get between them. And if water's in between them, erosion. Yeah. And it's just going to grow mold and it's going to turn gross, and that'll, maybe transfer into your walls. I don't know. I just wouldn't do it because it doesn't sound safe to me. So I would just demo back and then put on whatever you want.
Yeah. Another thing I would think about doing is if you have a really ugly, maybe it's a really textured stucco, right? From the 80s and 90s. I would maybe go over it with a smooth stucco and make it feel more like plaster to the outside of your house.
That's a good update.
I think that's a really good, so you're not demoing, but you can have them skim coat it and smooth it out and paint it whatever color you want, and have it again, just be a little bit more quiet and not so, heavily.
Question. So you said, and paint it whatever color that you want. Do you mean just if you're going over the stucco, wouldn't you just have the color in the stucco and then smooth over it? Because do you want to paint stucco?
I've heard no. On the new building, we're doing this new plaster finish for our columns, exterior columns, and we're painting those. And apparently that bonds with paint better than stucco does, because stucco is just it's hard to get an even spray because it's so textured. Yeah. But if you did make it if you did mute that texture a little bit, I think you could paint it. Here's the issue. I'm not going to lie. The exterior of my house is what missed the mark. I feel sad about it every day that I look at it. It just is what it is.
Oh no. What is it, Corey?
This is we haven't heard this, guys. We're all hearing live feedback.
Confessions by Usher.
Go.
Just to be honest with you, I didn't have as much of a, I was just kind of left that to other people. And so I didn't put my finger on the pulse of it, but it really is disappointing to me. So what happened was the stucco, we were hey, we chose cedar key as the color, and they mix it with the stucco, and it got approved without asking me, and it got put up, and it was not the color. I took cedar key and it's shades darker.
Oh no.
And I'm super bummed out about it. And then that was supposed to be the same, because in Springville, they make you do a 4-inch wainscoting of brick or some sort of masonry around your house. Mm-hmm. So we were just going to kind of do the same color. Yeah. And now I joke, I have 5 shades of cedar key on my house, because they're all just different. And it is what it is. At some point I'm going to, I think that's a good idea. Just kind of going over the stucco and smoothing, and maybe do that product we're doing on the new building.
Can you describe for the people what color cedar key is?
It's a warm, it depends on what shade you're asking in my house.
Which of the 5 shades?
Yeah. I think what it's supposed to be is just like a warm ivory color. And that's what kind of we were going for. But yeah, this is just like, this is more rooted in brown because it was mixed with the stucco and that's what they told me. They were like, they were like, well, when you mix paint with stucco, it darkens. I was like, well, feel free to tell me that. And I didn't know, like, and then if I gave you a sample, match the sample.
So let me ask you a question then. So is it better than to do the stucco and then paint the stucco, or to somehow color correct?
Yes. So go a couple shades lighter, knowing it's going to darken.
Interesting. Yes. How many shades lighter would you say that you're off?
Like if you use a, the paint deck, I would say at least 3 or 4. It's dark. Yeah. If you saw it.
Do you have a tan house?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And we did not want a tan house.
Dang it.
I know.
Let's put a picture of that up on the podcast for the people to see.
Okay. No. In the design files, we'll do that.
We did a remodel in Mesa, Arizona, and it was like an old mission house, but it was like just a very, very, very textured stucco. And so we did that. We worked with a company, and you can pick out, the texture, and I could give them, I gave them a color that I wanted it to be. And so they must have incorporated it with however their process goes, and they smooth coated it. So it felt a little bit more plastered.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So anyway, so that is an option without, and they didn't want to do a lot of demo, but they're like, how can we course correct and like make this something that we're proud of? And it turned out really pretty.
Cool.
I love that.
Awesome.
Next question is stone. Can you repaint natural stone on the exterior?
No. Don't do it. Jess, some of your neighborhood, maybe?
I'm hoping my neighborhood's not listening to the podcast.
No, but you see this everywhere.
Yeah.
I think
there's a house. It was the first to paint itself white in the turning all the houses in my block into a farmhouse. Anyway, the first one painted the whole house white. So there's stone on the bottom. There's stucco. I feel like there's brick also. So all of it is the same shade of white. So I just feel like stone is like from the earth, and I don't really want to see it shellacked in white. The house did sell very quickly. I think everybody's really happy about it. The new owners, the past owners were thrilled with the update. And so I think it's also like your own taste. For me, I would have just taken the grout and overgrouted it so that you're taking the grout, you're pulling it forward, right? With new grout. And then you're kind of spreading that just barely in the margins of the stone so that you're getting more of that light kind of tonal color, which will be so
more
pretty.
Foundational too.
Right. And look at that grout and consider your paint, because what you don't want is a white house.
Or white grout.
Yeah. You want a more organic sort of tonal shade that feels more natural and pretty with landscape and interior. And it doesn't look white like a sheet of paper, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's what I would do on the stone. Certainly you can paint bricks right now. You can paint stucco. Yeah. I don't know how long it's going to last.
That is
it depends on where you live too.
Yes. Right. Yeah. And like how, like in Utah, we have like the harshest of harsh on, on both spectrums. So if you're going to do it and stay in the house, just be prepared in 5 to 7 years, you're probably going to have to repaint it.
For sure.
So,
yeah. And I will say it's discouraging. I have real cedar shakes on my house. And I've been in the house for 7 years in August. So right now, and the cedar shakes now are starting to show the cedar coming through this sort of like grayish color. It's just like a really coastal sort of Hamptons look, but that really cedary color is starting to come out. So it's really looking like the Hamptons, but I'm like, I need to get somebody in here to like paint. It's like a paint over it. So you can still see some of the warmth of the cedar coming through, but it kind of calms it down. It makes the gray not too cold, but then the cedar's not too hot. You know what I mean? Yep. So it's time again. It's been 7 years, like especially on the west and hot side of my house. The other side looks perfectly new, but yeah, I definitely need to do that. So, and you know what? I'm bummed about it. I knew this when I did the house that I was going to have to just repaint it. Yeah, no big deal. I want the authentic thing. I don't want hardy. I want real cedar. Yeah. And now I got to pay the price for it.
7 years comes quicker than you think.
It really does.
Because you're like, I'll just do that. I'll do that in 7 years.
I'll sell the house before I have to do that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And then
now it's time, and I love my neighborhood and I don't want to move. And I'm like, shucks, I got to get somebody out here to take care of that maybe this fall when it cools down a little bit.
Yeah. I think too, like to the question about just like the rock being painted or just like staying authentic. We've saved so many like rock fireplaces with this trick, guys, about the overgrouting that Jess was talking about.
So
they don't want to tear it out, but you overgrout that. And again, it celebrates your assets. You celebrate what the good stuff is.
Yeah. Real stone.
And the grout color, the like depth of the grout color, as far as like how shallow or deep it is, it can completely change it. And I think it's nice to have that foundation on your house and that weight, that visual weight of having something darker, even if it's just like a few tones lighter, And
I think we can control the grout color, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so you can really flatter your stone and the paint color that you want to choose. And all of that can be considered beforehand. You don't just have to throw in the towel and just throw white at everything to try and fix all these finishes that you're not in love with anymore.
I think it's a sea of regret, guys. This is going to be a white sea of regret.
Yeah.
Utah, I'm sure everywhere they lean into trends hard. We leaned into Tuscany hard.
Yeah.
Now we're leaning into this farmhouse hard, and it's all we're seeing. And it's gonna trend out white. Yes, it's classic, but like in a certain dose, you have to be authentic.
Especially because it's been actually happening for like 8 years.
10 years.
Yeah. So like right now, it's like the train's like left the station type of thing. So if you're doing it right now, it's just not the time. Like Just so
everyone's magazines won't take like any white kitchens that we have. They want something different, which shows us that, and they've been saying that for a while.
Yeah.
That again, the train's left. Anyway.
You know what else they're saying? This is a sidebar, nothing to do with updating the exterior of your home, but they do not want glam. Magazines do not want glamorous. It's not authentic. I feel like they're in this real authentic phase, right? Where like we're talking about like Lenny Kravitz's home, and some of these homes just feel like lived in, time worn.
Organic.
Yeah. And they're just like rich, steeped in history. Nothing is like sparkly, shiny, Z gallery, glass, sparkle. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
I love it.
It's interesting that, that they're like, when we're doing styling to shoot some of the houses we're doing to turn over, that our publishing agent is like, no glam, make the styling look natural, not too much
lived in,
not overdone, pillows not too chopped, right? Just like looking like leaning, like you really live there.
Yeah. It's kind of like TikTok. TikTok is a lot more like pared down. Like it's not as polished as the Instagram pictures of yesteryear when you'd filter it 100 times and make it interesting. And you do face tuning and make your teeth white. People don't want to see that. They want to see real life.
I like that.
And
you guys,
all realms.
Little Sue Hollows on TikTok.
All realms.
I love it.
Not really that. Anyway,
that's great.
But it is interesting. Just don't paint the whole place white is what I'm saying.
Cheers. Okay. Let's talk about brick. Another customer question. Our listener says, thoughts on limewashing brick.
We did this to a home before because she didn't want to go full white, but she didn't want, I think it was probably like a foul shade of orange or something, And so we did a lot of testing and stuff, and limewashing, it worked. Like it was really nice, and it left some of that undertone, like you're talking even about the cedar, the warmth of that, but trying to kind of temperature and cool it down. So I think limewashing is a nice thing to do. I would say to probably outsource it. Try not to do it yourself. I think it's a lot of
hard.
labor.
I know two people that have done it, and it's a lot of work. So,
but sample it, look it up, see if you like it. But it's just don't make it. I would say lean on a little bit more of an opaque lime wash, so it doesn't look like mystery meat. So we don't see too much modeling.
Raw hamburger.
Yeah. You'll see some of those when you Google image. Jess has some pulled up right now.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not super.
It kind of reminds me of the 80s. You remember when like pinkish brick was like all the rage?
Yeah.
That salmony brick. We had a house. Our mom, I know you're listening. The 313 house. You know what I'm talking about? It's kind of a peachy brick.
Yeah.
It was hot at the time. My mom was good at what she does. I totally don't, I'm not dissing on your mom. I think it was a good choice, but
proof you lived.
I do think though, like the lime washing brings out more of those pastel notes and like a true color, but also maybe it's like, it's your French phase, or I don't know, maybe there's a story that you can tell with the house to make it look really authentic.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Maybe a little bit more opaque than sheer.
I agree.
Like,
Yes.
Go a little bit thicker so we don't get too much of the undertone.
I like that word thick.
Thick. That thick piece. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. They also want to know, of course, next question is suggestions on trim and window colors for a red brick reno. Trim and window colors.
I think
red brick is so vague though. Yeah. That's really hard.
Orange.
It's always going to be a white window with, you're not going to use
so. It's classic.
What's the tan color called again?
Almond.
You're not going to use an almond window. And
that just looks like it's
sturdy.
As far
as trim goes, I think you're going to use white soffit and fascia.
Yeah. And I think that'll be like the most classic colonial filling house.
I think so too.
Okay.
They want to know if you can paint your brick. Yes or no? What are our thoughts? Oh, I think the first painted brick house we did was probably 9 years ago for a client in Alpine, Utah.
Yeah.
And we were so obsessed with this house. So good. I'm still obsessed with it.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing.
And I think at that time too, which it wasn't that long ago, but like they didn't sell, and maybe they do. I haven't specified like a white brick in a while, but they didn't sell just like a white brick. They sold other brick and then you would paint it on site.
Yeah.
So you just like really invest in like the texture and interest. And so I think they got like a refurbished brick from another estate that was torn down. And they used that. The builder brought that in. The texture was awesome. The size was awesome.
Yeah, I love that.
And we painted it, you know? So I would say pay attention to that. And
I think that's probably the way to go anyway, though, because then you can get something that's more uniform, right? Because I mean, brick is always going to be, it's always going to have like ebbs and flows and as far as color goes. And I think traditionally that was the way they did it then, because they didn't make, you know what I mean, white brick then, so, or whatever color. So in my opinion, that's the way to go, even if they do make color brick, which sounds weird to me.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Sounds like a powder coated metal.
Yeah.
It's just not the real stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
So same thing with brick. Yeah. Find a good texture. Well, hopefully you have a good texture if this is a remodel listener. And yeah, for sure paint it. I wouldn't paint it anything too bright white. I would go, I don't know. We love like the white dove. We love something that's just going to be a little softer than optic white.
Yeah.
Every time.
I agree.
So,
yeah. I say even warmer today.
Yeah.
Even more like a bisque or
That's true. Dove wing is really pretty.
Yeah. Benmore. Dove wing. Yeah. I think you have to err on the side of warmer because the way the sun hits it amplifies the whiteness. And then it's almost like you got to wear sunglasses to look at it.
Your house is glowing.
Yeah, it is. And so I think that even though it seems warm when you're looking at it compared to a sheet of white paper, I think you got to air way, way warmer. They can even test a spot on your house, you know.
Have them test several paint colors.
I'm embarrassed to say, I know I've told the story before, but I had to test 12 paint colors on my house. Yeah. I was like getting insecure at how many tests I had to do before I knew I had the right one.
Paint's really hard, you guys.
It's hard. The sun is really warm and the way it hits color changes it from how it looks inside of a store, or even we bring paint colors all the time to our windows to look at it in natural light. But when you've got a house standing out in broad daylight, nothing but the natural sun hitting it, and depending on like landscaping and everything else.
Even like city to city, whenever you can, just sample so many on your house. Like here to Park City, it's totally different. Here, you know, just like the light just changes completely. So sample, and I like that. Err on the side of like a little bit taupier, honestly. Yeah.
Totally. Okay, this question is, would you ever rip off all the brick on a home and start over?
Depends on the brick.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot. This is one question I was thinking of asking you guys. If you want to change your like home color to kind of like match what is envisioning in your mind, do you change the architecture as well? So that kind of falls with this. Like if you wanted to change from brick to, let's say like, I don't know, hardy board or something like that. Do you change like the shapes of the entryways or the columns? You know what I mean?
Like a full-blown remodel, not just like a Band-Aid, to make it more your style so that you can stand living in this house that wasn't your favorite, but it was like on the market, your price point, you had to get it.
Yes.
Right.
This is my situation right now.
Yeah, I know. That's
100%. And my situation.
Then
let's have
Sue Hall answer it.
Yeah, I'm such a like, if I'm going to do this, I might as well do this. And if I'm going to do that, I might as well do this too. And then it turns into 10 times the project.
We call it give a mouse a cookie.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And pretty soon you're also 10 times the budget.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And so that's what I'm running
like,
into.
Oopsies, it's $2 million.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Yeah. What's your thought, Sue?
No, we bought like this great piece of land, and like it has this like 70s house from like, again, 1971. And like parts of it are interesting. Like the brick, they did this cool zipper brick. So I'm like, that's cool. Way to go. Like, but like the house isn't why we bought the place, right? But we have this house now. And so it's like this thing of like remodel or new build. And when am I going to do it? And what am I going to do to the outside now to celebrate the architecture that it is? And like right now, if I painted it, if I got new doors, if I did all that, it goes super like Palm Springsy, and it's cool. It has like this like little entry courtyard, and I can do that to celebrate it. It's just like, it's one of those things like, do I want to invest in that? But then do I want to redo architecture and like leave that portion of the house? Anyway, it's just like, it's give a mouse a cookie. And so.
But your future plans.
But my future
all
plans.
drawn out. Yeah. You're going to change the shape of the house, aren't you?
I'm changing the shape of the house. And so as of right now, we will probably paint the house, like probably do minimum to it for like the next five to 10, right? While we like really develop this and invest in what we can, invest in like stuff like that we know is going to need to grow, trees, grass, things, and while we really develop the house. And I don't know, I don't want to invest in the architecture until I'm absolutely committed and I'm like really sold on the plans.
I think that's
house.
the smart move.
Yeah. And it's hard. It's really hard when you want to change something. But I think we just I've done this enough, and we know that a remodel costs more than a new build. You know, it would be way cheaper for me to tear this house down and get better plumbing and get better, all the, just the infrastructure of a new house is better now than it was then. And invest in what you want this. If you're going to be there long term, I would hold until you really have a concrete plan on architecture and what you want.
Yeah. Exterior, I think, is really hard to do piece by piece.
It is.
So and that's like my biggest, that's my biggest issue with that question. It's like, well, that's why it's hard to answer. Cause it's like, do you just tear it off and like start over? It depends on like, are you going to redo, the form of your house? Or are you know what I mean? Like it just kind of maybe in the exterior, do it all at one time. So wait and deal with it until you can afford
Save up your money.
Yeah.
And then do it right.
Yes.
Do it once. Yep. If you like cannot stand it, paint it for now, get some landscaping that's going to make you happy for the next little while. But have that plan, like work with the designer, work with the landscape designer to understand what are things that I can start, what are seeds that I can plant now that will grow into something that will like fit this house that I want later. Right.
So,
yeah.
Yep.
Your plan is to keep the house and add on to it, right?
I think so.
Like blow a hole through a portion of it and add on to it. So you're not going to, because there's kind of talks back and forth of you just like leveling it and rebuilding because it'll be cheaper, but you're planning to to like add on to it, right?
I don't know. It just depends on the climate of building right now. Right now, that sounds more tempting.
Well, but in 5 to 10 years, right?
5 to 10 years, it could be different, So I think it's just developing the plan, like remodel versus that, and which would be the most cost effective. And at that point.
Yeah, totally.
Anyway, but be smart about it. I don't think be flippant with these decisions because it's an edifice. It's an actual structure on the earth that deserves to be considered.
Yeah. Yeah. And beautiful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Guys, we have so much to talk about. We are going to do a part 2 on this. So we'll wrap up this one. And then next week you can catch the next one. Thanks so much for listening. And let us know if you have any questions. Send them into Dear Alice at alicelanehome.com. Hey, thanks for listening. If you like our show, please leave a 5-star rating.